This week will be all about writing code. And the basics are very, very important. When you learn a programming language, the very first lectures are extremely important to know the very basics. And please do not miss any class or lecture this week or next week. Be on time also. Very minor details might affect your understanding or impact it negatively. Now, when we write code or write programs, we said last 2 lectures, we don't just jump to writing code على طول, صح? We think about the algorithm itself. We design the program or the algorithm of the program, and we need to know it's correct. Then step number 2 is what? Here. What's step number 2? Then we start write the code. But sometimes you write the code and there are errors in the code. Syntax error. Syntax error means belong to the language itself. You need to correct them because you cannot run a program with syntax errors. So step number 3 is what? Then you need to test your program. Syntax-free or error-free program does not mean that your program is going to generate right results. Maybe you are calculating some value. Instead of dividing by 3, you are dividing by 5. Is it syntax error? Is it a Python error? What do we call this error? The way you are doing the calculation is wrong. So a running program does not mean that a program is what generating right results, okay? You need to test it, and if you have logical errors, calculations or something in your program, then you test it. So typically the life of any program is taking input from the user, do some processing, and then producing some kind of what? Output or results. Sometimes this is for a simple program is fine, and for huge applications are also fine. Tamam. Yani you will always need to provide some kind of an input to the program. The program is going to do some processing, maybe 2 lines, maybe 2,000 lines. It's processing. Sometimes you need only 1 input, sometimes you need 10 inputs. But it's always the same. You input, do some processing, expect some kind of what? Results. Start with the simplest task in Python. What is it? Output some message on the screen. في أبسط من هيك. In Python, the statement that prints something on the screen is called what? Let's just go and do some kind of what? Here, let me just do this and okay, new file here. I'll call it test. Okay, dot py. Why py? Because it's what? Python. Tamam. If you don't put py, expect error. صح ولا لا? This is my program. Empty. How to print something in Python and on the screen? Print. Then you have some message to print. The message should be between what? Parentheses. صح ولا لا? Right. Then you put either single quote or both are fine. But if you use single quote on both sides, if you use double quote on both sides. Welcome to Python. So what's the message we are printing now? This is our first Python program. What does it do? Very simple print statement. Where? In line number 1. How to run your code? It's easy with this one. You just click on here what? Run يعني شغله. Whatever. What's the output you are getting from here? Change. CMBS 151. Now what is output you are expecting? Can I print more than 1 message? Yeah. Okay. Hello. World, for example. Now I used what? Single quote or double quote? So if you do this, then it's fine. But you cannot do what? Mix and match, huh? This is what? Why you see a red line now below the statement? Because it's error. If you try to run it, what's going to happen? What? What is error? Okay, in which line? You need to just make sure you terminate it with what? Same quote. Any questions so far? So this is how to print something in Python using what? Which statement? Print. What did we print? What did we print? We put it between what? Anything you put between quotes, a text, nas. What do we call text in programming? String. In nas, in programming languages, is called what? String. Anything between double quotes is what? A string. String can be one or more what? Characters, صح? ماشي الحال. What is a string now here? Sequence of what? That is used as what? Data. يعني your name is what? String, صح? But your age, is it string? It's a numerical value, صح? A numerical value. ماشي? You get this? Course name is what? A string. صح؟ CRN, is it a string? It depends, صح? Numerical value. So this is what something I need you. A string literal. Literal, يعني any value that you use as a string must be enclosed between either single quote or what? We explained this, صح ولا لا? When we say string literal, يعني something that you want to use as a string. يعني Ziyad is a string literal, صح? 7.5, is this a string literal? Okay, tamam, good. So it can be either single quote or double quote. طيب. Now, one simple but important step when you write code. Your programs are not expected to be 2-3 lines. It'll be hundreds of lines. And with big projects, not only one person will be working on a project or in the code, more than one person. And sometimes you work in a company or business for a few years and then leave. Someone else takes over, right? Code must be documented. Yani, you should put sometimes explanations why this is done, why this is not done. You come after a week and you forget sometimes why you did this step. I work with you in the same code and I see something, I say, okay, this is definitely wrong, I change it. It was correct, but he did not explain why he made it that way. Does that make sense? Now, how to put some kind of documentation or comments? Comments, not code, nothing to do with code. You can write anything in it, in your programming language. You use which character here? Anything you start with number sign is considered what? A comment. Is not a code. Yani you can write anything with it. It's not part of what? It's not part of the Python statements. The interpreter will ignore it. Huh? Let me show you how I'm doing this. Here, if I go here, what did I put first thing? Is this now? Now, what I'm gonna do next? Is it Python code? I can write anything, صح? صح? I can say first, for example, Python code. Does that make sense? Huh? Because in the previous 5 minutes, I was explaining why we need to write it. And in the previous 5 minutes, I was telling you why we need to write it. You come after a year, you forget why you did this. Your programs will be hundreds and thousands of lines. If you think more than one person are working in the same code. Sometimes people leave business and someone else comes. If you don't explain the code and what is this part, then it's the worst thing to do is to write a nice code without what? Documentation. No one is going to work with you, and it's part of the software engineering. Writing software is documentation. No documentation is not considered a complete code. Here, for example, I want to do what here, for example, use anything you can write, using double quotes. Anything, yani, it's something you are free to do whatever. It will be part of the text. Is it a Python statement? No. Is it interpreted as a machine language? Why we use this comment? For us, for the users. Okay. Does that make sense? Good. You will find when sometimes I'll give you code, my code in Blackboard, you will find me doing some comments there to tell you why I'm doing this and why I'm doing that. You see what I'm saying? It's a good practice to keep reading the comments. Tamam. You can write anything, anything. طبعا don't do this, write anything here. But now you know that in the comments, comments are not code. It's for us to explain why we did this and why we did that. Does that make sense? ماشي الحال. So we explained the use of comments, and we explained how to print things. Now we go to very, very, very important topic in computers and programming. When you input data, you need to store it somewhere. Yani, if I'm asking you to write a program to calculate the area of a triangle, what input am I expecting from you? And how many? Base and height. Tamam? Yani, you need to give me two pieces of information, right? If I'm doing the area of a circle, what input I'm expecting? Radius. Don't say radius. And you need to calculate the area here. So you will store the value of the area somewhere. Yani, your program will output how many values? And here, the program will output how many values? Good. How many inputs I'm expecting from you here? Two. Value. Which one is base? Which one is height? You give them a name. And the value of base, let's say 10. You use what we call a variable. You know when you use in math x and y and z, then you replace them with values. Same thing here. If this is 10 and 20, area will be equal to what? This is input from you, right? Area is equal to what here? 0.5 times what? 3 times what? 9. Okay? Let's say 100 here. This value is an input or calculated. But this one is what? Input from the user. Does that make sense? Right. You run the program again with a new value. So next time you run a program with, for example, 20 and 5. This one is calculated and you get different results. So to calculate the area of a circle, how many variables you need? Circle, triangle, square. 1 على حد علمي 1 لحد ما تركت المدرسة 1. Okay? Right. Good. So these are called variables. We store our data in variables. Actually, what's a variable is, you can understand this. In computer memory, when you say height and base is equal to 20, you know what happens? A place in memory will be given the name what? And which value will be stored in it? You say height is equal to 10. Place in memory, height, and what value it is, for example, whatever value. So this is a variable. A place in memory with the name you selected. Now here when you calculate area, 0.5 times what? Area will get the value of base from where? No. This is computer memory. That makes sense. They will look for a place called what? and get its what? The value here. When you say height, they will look at the memory. Is there a place called what? And they will get what? The value and use it here. And now area, let us say 100 for whatever reason. So now what will happen also in memory? A place called what? And what value is stored in it? Okay. You change your mind after some time. You change the value of base. And in your program, you say base is equal to 5. You know what's going to happen? Do you have a variable in memory called base? So we'll go and change one value. If it's a new variable, if you say x is equal to 25, do you have a variable in memory called x? So what happens here now? X is equal to what? 25. Fine. Let us say you are creating a new value, x plus y. Now there is an error now. Why? X plus بمعلوم x. صح ولا لا? We will get it. What is y? Okay, then your program generates what here? Because there is no place in memory called what? Y. And it's not. That makes sense. You get this idea. Let us see now. What's a variable now? A place in memory where we store what? The best way is to give it a name, صح? Easiest way عشان ما ننسى حتى, صح? To give it a name. So a place in memory, given a name, to store some value. A variable, okay. When you say x, here x, okay, x for your program means what? The value stored where? In x. When you say base for your program, what does that mean? The value stored where? Now you read the statement, understand it now. A variable references what? يعني we use the name because it's easier to use name. The name represents actually name هو راح يوصلنا لمين؟ اللي stored in that place in memory. Does that make sense now? How to give it a value? A variable is a value, صح? This is called assignment. Assignment يعني giving a value to what? A variable. Look at area is equal, x is equal to 25. We said x is equal to 25, صح? We give it a value directly. But area, look at area. Is it a value or expression? Expression. يعني how do you assign? يعني how to give a value to a variable. Sometimes you give the value input from, صح? Sometimes you say x is equal 5. Sometimes it's a calculated thing, صح ولا لا? A calculated thing here means what? What you see here is what? Here I gave direct value, صح ولا لا? تمام? But sometimes I can do what? طبعا how to get a value equal sign بس. طيب. A variable, do we use single quotes or double quotes or none of them? A variable is not a string, it's a name in memory. Look at this now. X is equal to 10. Now, after this statement, what happens now? There is a place in memory called what? X, and what values is stored in it? Okay, Y is equal to 5. Now, what happens? A place in memory called 5. طالب X. What will be output now? Is it X or the value stored in X? طيب, can I reassign? Can I change it? Yes. X is equal to 99. Now, what happens? The value 10 will be removed from X and it will be replaced by what value? And now, if I say print X, what do you think is going to happen here in the output? Look at the output. First time at line 4, X was 10, صح? In line 5, what happened? We reassigned. Reassign يعني change, gave it a new thing, the variable to 9. طيب نشوف y، نعمل حركة ثانية معه. Y is equal to 1 plus x. Tell me what's y now. Y. Because x now is what? And 1 plus x, so the value will be 100 in y. Does that make sense? The latest value, don't tell me x was 10. No, x has been changed to what? Does that make sense? طيب, print k. What's the problem now? Is there a variable in memory called k? So what's the problem? There is no value in memory. If I run this program, look at the error message. Name what? يعني the interpreter tells you, I don't know what is k. I know what is x and I know what is y, but I don't know what is what. Because did you define it? There is no k. صح. ماشي الحال. هلا here if you say k is equal to y, this program is gonna run. تمام. صح. So you cannot use a variable without naming it. طيب. One final thing. K. Sorry. K. Print. K. شو رايكم؟ مش not error. We need to name things exactly. Is it error? Oh no. What will be print? This is a text, has nothing to do with the variable. This is a text. صح ولا لا؟ What is it? K. تمام. Anything between quotes means it's just what? But x here, is it a variable or text? A variable that contains data. The data can be of any type. Does that make sense now? Let's see next. You understand this now, صح? You can only use a variable after a value is assigned. Did you understand this? When I used k before I assigned it a value, I got an error, صح? But after I assigned it, it worked. طيب. Now, big programs, يا شباب, will not be of 3 lines or 2 lines, تمام? Will be hundreds of lines, تمام? And sometimes you don't have only 1 or 2 or 3 variables. You have tens of variables. Is it a good idea to give them meaningful names? Because if you name your variables X, Y, Z, and A, B, C, after 1 hour, you will forget which one you're gonna store what? X and which one is Y? Is it the radius in X and the perimeter in Y or whatever? صح ولا لا? If it's a radius يا صديقي, call it radius. والله الحياة easy, صح? Don't complicate it, صح? If it's a radius, call it radius. If you come after 1 year or 10 years, you look at it, radius. And, life is good. If you call it A or X1, X2, X3, X4, X1, after 1 hour, you will forget. If other people working with you, they will stop working with you, okay? If someone hired you, they will fire you. صح ولا لا, right? Okay. So a variable name, first of all, cannot be, there are rules how to give names to variables. A variable name cannot be a Python keyword. So what's a Python keyword? Each programming language has its own list of reserved words or keywords. هاي كلمات محجوزة للغة. انت ما استخدم كل شيء في العالم إلا مين؟ Each language has its own list يعني. Let us see here. Here, let me show you مثلا Python keywords. تمام? These are the keywords of Python. Use everything on the planet, but don't use class, don't use break, don't use except, don't use false. فاهمين علي? Each language has its own what? And if you come here and say Java keyword, you'll find different list. You cannot remember them in 1 hour. You will know them with experience, صح? مش أنا sorry. And if I put Java keywords here, you will get what? Keywords, you will get what? A list of Java keywords. Does that make sense? Yeah. So first rule, a variable name cannot be a language keyword. If you are writing Python program, the variable name cannot be a Python keyword. Variable name cannot contain spaces. يعني if it's a student score, don't make it student space score. لا. No spaces. No spaces. Use underscore, use whatever, but no spaces. Does that make sense يا شباب؟ طيب. First character must be either a letter or what? ايش underscore؟ you know underscore تحت هاي تيجي، مش الداش، مش الماينس. طيب first character can be a digit, can be dollar sign. اصلا dollar sign is not accepted whether first or not, because first character must be a letter or what? Read the next one. After the first character, you may use what? Digits. Oh, underscores. Can you use symbols? You know symbols, special characters الموجودين فوق. For example, you are not supposed to use them in what? They are not allowed. The only special characters that's allowed is underscore. Does that make sense? You use it in that case when you have long words or something. Variable names are case sensitive. يعني student name with capital S for the computer has nothing, is something different than what? Student name small s. تمام? Variable H is what? يعني for the computer this is one thing and this is what? So variable names should reflect what? I told you if it's a salary, well, name it salary. Don't name it S, because after 10 minutes you'll, is S salary or sales total? If it's a sales total, call it what? Sales total. That sales total. If it's a sales average, call it sales average. You get my point? You spend 2 seconds in naming and you save 10 hours in debugging, or 10 weeks sometimes. Tamam. Does that make sense? Yalla. Total sales, valid, yes or no? Does it start with a valid? Yeah. Total sales, second one. Underscore is allowed. صح ولا لا? Life is good. Total sales, number 3. Why? There is what here? There is a dot. Are you allowed to use a dot? Fourth quarter sale, جميل الاسم. Nice name. Is it gonna work? So this is, yes, you can. Total sale, this one is good, صح? Is it valid? Why? Which one? Underscore total sales, valid, yes or no? Units per day, good name, very meaningful, صح ولا لا? Units per day, يعني كم وحدة باليوم؟ واضح الاسم شو راح يتخزن فيه، صح؟ Very clear what data is going to be stored inside it, right? Units of per week, units per month, صح ولا لا؟ Day of weeks, valid. Third graph, ممتاز, جميل. ليه؟ Starts with a digit. This one, why? Hashtag or number sign. حاضر ها؟ لا يقولوا له starts with a digit صح؟ ايوه احنا وين كنا هون؟ شو قلنا؟ First character must be what? Or underscore. Okay, cannot start with what? With experience, مولت يعني تدري يعني you cannot remember Python keywords and then yeah this is one other thing. يعني you will know them. يعني next week you will study input is a keyword. You cannot use it. Now you say print صح ولا لا is available. It's not a keyword here بس يعني available. Else if you will see one by one خلاص يعني ماشي. Okay. So أكمل أنا ولا تيجي؟ اليوم بقى اليوم بنزل راتبي بعطيك الحصة هاي بعطيك عليها 50 ريال طيب؟ اليوم بنزل راتبي بحط لك على الحصة هاي 50 ريال على المجهود تبعك. وما بتيجي بعد هيك تمام؟ طيب Can I print multiple things in one print? Yes, very simple. Just put between them, put what? Between them, put what? Let's do this, huh? Let's do this and see what happens. Salary, for example, equals, tamam? Print salary will print what? The value stored inside the variable what? But I don't want this, for example, here, print salary prints what? The value. I want to print the salary is like a message. طيب, put this text string, you know, the salary, and just put between them what? Now, this is a string, صح ولا لا? Now, what will be the output? The salary and whatever value, okay? Here, it's you decide. It depends on the example, huh? Whatever you want. Does that make sense? طيب, huh? Bonus is equal to 500. Let us see. I want to, here, bonus, and here, comma, and bonus. Does that make sense? So now what will be printed now? Your salary. Look, I did not put spaces. Whenever you put a comma, Python will add one space. If you want more spaces, and if you want it to be and you will see more details later how to. Yani this space is inside the string. Does that make sense? Is it inside the quote? Is it inside the quote? Then it's part of the string. Tamam. I want to put some space here. Bonus. Does that make sense? I'm showing you space inside the text is part of the string. You get this, ya shabab? Okay. Outside means nothing. Shuf, outside means nothing. Outside means nothing. Do you get this? Outside is not part of that string. Part of the string is what you put between what? The double quotes. ماشي الحال. Good. So how do you print multiple things now? Just put commas. تمام. Simple, straightforward. Can you change a value of a variable? What do we call it in programming? Reassignment. What is reassignment? Giving a new value. Tamam. Here now, let me say salary is equal to 8,000. خلاص. Now, what's the value stored in salary? 8,000. If I take this here, this line here, and put it here now, what we see here is what now? The salary is what? This is called what? Reassignment, changing the value. Tamam? Yeah, very simple, straightforward, easy. But what's not straightforward? In Python, you can give different what? You can give different data types. Look at this. X is equal to 10. What is X? 10. استنوا شوي. X is equal to زياد. طبعا if you do this in Java you will fail. But in Python جماعة طيبين وأوادم. ماشي الحال. Now what is the value in X? تمام ما عندهم مشكلة. Okay. Reassignment. حتى we change the data type. Do you agree with this? We will come to data types now على طول. Now I need your attention and use of brain for a few minutes because this is very important. Okay, very important. If I tell you radius, what do you expect the data type to be for radius? What do you mean? Is this string? No. Oh, it's مش string, صح? It's going to be numeric value, صح ولا لا? Right, this is good. 2. It's going to be integer, you know it's integer. عدد صحيح, صح? Is it? Either integer or float. Either integer or float. Right, to be in the safe side, what to use? Float. If you use integer here, say radius is going to be integer. Then if you enter a float data, it will remove the decimal. So the program will sometimes generate wrong results. So, right. Now listen carefully again. Say number of students in a class. Is it integer or float? You know what's float? عدد حقيقي يعني with a double or float, real number. يعني معاه كسور. If I say number of students in a class, is it integer or float? يعني I'm not going to have like 3.9 صح? Your score, your GPA. هيفهمتوها عشان لكم صح؟ your GPA is it integer؟ هو ممكن يكون integer لهذا لا no صح؟ No, it's float, right? So is it possible if you make a GPA program integer, what's going to happen? It will remove all the. في ناس منكم على بركة دعاء الوالدين ولا هالديسيمال صح؟ مظبوط يا صح ولا لا؟ Right? So it must be what? Float. Number of kids. يعني ما حدش عنده ولدين وربع صح؟ مظبوط صح ولا لا؟ I'm telling you because if it's possible, never use radius as well. Integer. Then I will tell you, so your program will generate wrong results -1. I love those -5 because of data type. Right. Number of students in a class. If you make it float, you either have some wrong understanding, or your output will not be sometimes the way we want. Will be number of students 7.0000. If I'm telling you average students in a class, this could be what? This then we, is it possible 1 in a million to be float? Then we make it what? We make it float. But if I say things that are definitely and no way, number of courses, integer. Number of credit hours you finished, integer. GPA, base. خلاص float صح؟ float صح؟ مظبوط. Number of kids. Do you get this? Do you get the difference? Don't use this if it's that. Don't use that if it. Make sure you're using the right one. And don't run. ما تهرب لأنه float ما هو بيمشي صح؟ لا. If I'm asking you about number of kids, and you give me float, no, wrong. -1. Okay, تمام. طيب. Data types in Python والله very simple يا جماعة محظوظين انتم يعني. You are using only 3 data types. Your data will be either what? Or float or string, str. طيب. I want a student name. What is the data type? Okay. طيب. Weight. Weight float. Okay. Number of credit hours finished. GPA. Street address. street address ما قلت house number انا قلت street address يعني string صح؟ في مرات ممكن تستخدم number ممكن صح. طيب لما اخذ family name طيب تمام ماشي الحال. Did you get this? You always think, first thing to think, what is the data type of this? Okay? طيب. So how many types of numerical literals we have in Python? Either integer or what? تمام؟ وبايثون عندنا 3 data types. In C++ maybe 12 were there. Okay, I was teaching one class, full class on data types. Okay. Integer when it's integer, float when it is float, string when it is what? Make sure you choose the right one because sometimes the results will be wrong. Remember this, I did this 5 minutes ago. What I did here? X is equal to what? What X was in لا line 1 X is integer صح? In line 3 فجأة X what? Does that make sense? Even طبعا if you do this in Java you're gonna get F. The teacher will fire you. يعني you cannot do this in many languages, but in Python قلنا لكم جماعة طيبين وأوادم يعني أي شيء يعني very flexible, very flexible. Okay, you cannot change the data type in other languages. تمام. So طيب. It's just I have few minutes. Let me just do a few things here. Here X it was what? هلا what is X قولوا لي. Okay طبعا. Okay, if you do this the Java compiler, the compiler is gonna shut down. تمام. Okay طيب. Do you believe me ولا لا انتوا؟ طيب خلينا نتذكر بس في كوماند بنعملها X type يمكن. Let me just remember one thing. Type يمكن. Don't worry about this. I'm just showing you that here I will not print the value. I'll print what? أيوة. إذا بدنا نعرف, if you want to know, you will come to this later. But I want to show you that in Python you can even changing the literal will change the type. What do you expect the output to be? شوفوا شو مكتوب هون. Don't worry if you إذا مش كل شيء here بس here فاهمين, right? So changing the data type, change the type of what? The variable. Now it's a string, it's a float, it's a what? Does that make sense يا شباب؟ ماشي الحال. طيب. Now here you need, if you are entering a string, easiest thing يا شباب. شوفوا nothing in the code. If I want your name for example, name. How to do it? يلا قولوا لي. لا اللي ما بيعرفوا, بديش اللي بيعرفوا. اللي بيعرفوا هذول ما خايف منهم عادي كورس. اللي ما بيعرفوا, what is it? Input. And you write a message, a good message to the user. If you write no message, the program will stop. Enter what? Name, for example. So now the user knows what you want from him. صح ولا لا? Right? طيب. Let me show you one thing here. Print what? I want you to understand details here. Now, input in Python means what? When you run the program will stop until the user types something and presses what? The moment the user presses enter, the value you entered will be stored in which variable? تمام. Here. Look here. The program stopped, صح? Enter name من وين اجت هاي? Where did it come from? The message I selected, صح? Okay. My name is Ziad, for example. تمام. Does that make sense? Okay, Hassan. Good. This is a string. Let's wait. If it's not a string, you need to pay attention to. If you are entering integer, you need to مثلا خلينا نقول courses. خليكم معي 1 minute time. Courses. Before you do this, you cannot say input courses. Number of courses. Let me number of courses. Why? Because this ما في space. When space? Because this will store the data in courses as a string. يعني هلا print courses courses ماشي. See now how many times the program will stop now? 2. بس both of them are string. Name. شو اسمك اليوم؟ عبد الله. كم كورس يا عبد الله؟ 5. بس see by the way, courses is not right. There is a problem, big problem in courses. What? Courses is a string. يعني you cannot do it in multiplication. يعني لو بدي احسب total hours, شوف معي. If I want to calculate hours total hours, بدي اقول 3 times what? Courses. تمام. print. شوفوا معي. print total. خلينا نشوف. شو اسمك قلنا؟ عبد الله. How many courses? شوفوا ايش طلع معنا التوتال 555. طب 5 times 3 is what? طب why he did this? Because courses, the way we entered courses, it was entered as a string. طب استنى شوي. طب فرجينا انه string. I showed you that you can use something called what? So now what you will get, the value of courses or the data type of courses? ممتاز. Then now نرجع لعبد الله. 3. What is the data type of courses? طيب. How to solve this problem? هي مش problem. And I showed you how not to get into this problem. And what happens if you forget? If it's integer يا أصدقائي, everything here, put outside it what? بس خلاص. Now courses will be what? So when you input data, you need to know. When you input, if it's a string, leave it alone. If it's integer, you don't have to do. Yes or no? Let me run this now. قلنا شو هناك؟ عبد الله. هلا عبد الله 5 courses. The class is what? Do you get this? If you've طيب عبد الله مضطرين نسألك عن الجي بي اي. Wait, just 8 minutes بس. GPA. Make a long story short. Is it integer? Float. Then what inside it? Input what? Enter GPA. Good. And print what? أنا بس حبيت أفرجيك. If it's integer, we must put what? If it's a float, if you put integer and you enter float, it's wrong. ماشي الحال. Name حسن. Okay. 3 courses and GPA 4 point whatever. Does that make sense? It's accepted. It's what? Float. If we try to do this with integer, شو اسمك صديقي؟ أحمد. If you try to do number of courses is what? Integer. حاول تعمل حالك أحمد إيش إنه إيش أو بالغلط enter the GPA value. كيا مشكلة؟ What's the problem now? Because you entered data type not expected. ماشي الحال. We will start from here. We will repeat the input next time. Don't miss anything this week. ماشي الحال. Next time.